Hi everybody, my name is Harper, and I'm 16 years old. I can see how surprised you look, so let me tell you right away. This is not a Halloween costume. I actually look like this. Because of albinism, I lack the melanin pigment, so my hair and skin are white. And my eyes are different colors because I also have heterochromia iridium. Doesn't it look pretty? Do you want to know how people react to me? Oh, it can be a real nightmare sometimes. Come on, subscribe to the channel and I will tell you my story. I knew since I was a child that I was different from everybody else. It wasn't hard to figure out. I saw how other children looked compared to my reflection in the mirror. Moreover, I have poor eyesight because of heterochromia, and my fair skin does not allow me to be out in the sun much. Therefore, I did not play games with other children, but mostly sat at home and read. Over time, I got used to being alone, and my friends were replaced by Harry Potter books. It was better that way, really. At least no one bothered me with questions anymore. I was sick and tired of explaining to everyone what was wrong with me. At some point, I got so tired of it that when a boy on the street asked why I looked like that, I told him that I had been kidnapped by aliens. The boy got very scared and ran away. That's when I realized how to get rid of all the curious people. I told them I was an alien or a mutant or even an elf. Not everyone believed me, of course, but they didn't ask any more questions after that. As you can see, I didn't really like talking to people. I didn't have any friends, but that didn't bother me at all. It all began the day we moved to another city and I had to go to a new school. You probably know how frustrating it is to be the new girl in class. Everyone's looking at you and you don't know anyone. Long story short, I felt very uncomfortable and anxious. The new teacher, Miss Warnos, realized it and supported me. She told the class that I had unusual looks but was actually just like everybody else. I asked the students to treat me well and not to bother me, but her words had no effect on my classmates. During the break, the class leader called Brian came up to me and asked, "Hey Harper, what's wrong with you?" I had to say something. Moreover, the other classmates were also listening curiously. So I calmly replied, "My grandmother was a witch. I inherited her abilities. Do you want me to turn you into a toad?" I looked Brian straight in the eye and saw that he was scared. The guy didn't reply and left. The others began to whisper fearfully, but no one else asked me any meaner questions, and that was fine by me. I wasn't planning on making friends at my new school. Although there was one time I had to talk to a guy from another class. I was sitting alone in the canteen enjoying my lunch when an unusual guy sat down next to me. He looked so funny. He was short and had huge ears. I'd seen him a few times before that and no one had spoken to him. He was most likely an outcast because of his looks. That guy said his name was Charlie and he wanted to discuss something important with me. He told me there were rumors about me at school. They said I was a real witch and knew how to do magic. It amused me how easily people believed in all sorts of nonsense. But the guy was serious. He asked me to use my abilities to get rid of his terrible ears. Charlie wanted me to make them smaller. I couldn't help but laugh. Listen, I'll tell you a secret. I can't do magic. I'm just an ordinary girl. I just have albinism and heterochromia. Those are diseases, I said cheerfully. Charlie was clearly upset. He asked me why I'd made up all that stuff about myself, and I replied so that they wouldn't ask me too many questions or make fun of my unusual looks. My answer surprised the guy. He said I was very creative and looked at me with respect. It seemed like he liked me, just what I didn't need in my life. So I quickly finished eating and left the canteen. All in all, I did well at my new school. Everyone was afraid of me and no one bothered me. Even the worst bullies avoided me. Miss Warnos, on the other hand, was always there for me. When the sun shone too brightly, she drew the curtains over the windows. She also put me at the front of the class so I could see better. Overall, everything was going great. Only Charlie would not leave me alone. Wherever I went, he was always there. He gifted me some books, saved a seat for me in the canteen, and waited for me after school. I was tired of it, but smiled to be polite. Charlie once said to me, "You and I are very similar. No one talks to us. That's why we should stick together. I'm very happy to have a friend like you." Enough was enough. I told the guy that no one talked to me because I didn't want them to. I was used to being alone and simply didn't need any friends. "So you're very wrong about me, Charlie. I'm sorry," I told him and left. He was left standing there alone, looking after me sadly. But what could I do? Yes, that was what I was like, and I felt comfortable living like that. As time went on, everyone at school gradually got used to me. They stopped being afraid of me and even started making fun of me. One day my class was preparing to go camping. All of my classmates were discussing how much fun they were going to have, and then Brian looked at me and said, "Hey witch, are you coming with us?" I replied that such activities were not for me. Brian started making fun of my lifestyle. I got very angry and I said, "If I'm not going camping, then none of you are either." I don't know what I was hoping for when I said that. I just needed to put the bully in his place. However, the next day a miracle happened. It started to rain and got so windy in the morning that my class's trip was canceled. Honestly, it wasn't my fault. It was just a coincidence, but I was glad that my prophecy had been fulfilled. I spent the whole day reading books and enjoying myself. But as it turned out, trouble lay ahead. Instead of being afraid of me, my classmates started hating me. They were whispering behind my back and doing all sorts of nasty things to ruin my day. It made me mad. They put a bat in my locker one day. When I opened it, I got really scared. "This isn't funny," I shouted, but everyone just laughed. However, Charlie stood up for me. He stood next to me and said he wouldn't let me get hurt. "Here the bat is. Did you fly here with your ears?" Brian mocked him. That made them laugh even more. I was annoyed that Charlie with his huge ears was only adding fuel to the fire. That's why I told him menacingly, "Leave me alone! Stay away from me! I don't need your help!" I slammed the locker door and left. But as soon as I entered the classroom, I immediately saw the new way they had decided to mess with me. There was a huge caricature of me on the blackboard with the caption, "Welcome to hell, Harper." I heard them laugh behind me. It was all too much. I couldn't take it anymore. So I turned around and I said angrily, "I will take my revenge on all of you." I spent the entire evening crying in my room. Why wouldn't they just leave me alone? I didn't wish harm on anyone. I just wanted to be ignored. What happened the next day was a complete surprise to me. I came to school and went to class as usual, but there was almost no one there. "Where is everyone?" I asked, surprised. Miss Warnos replied that most of the class had fallen ill and stayed at home. I felt uneasy. I remembered my words from the day before. "I will take my revenge on all of you." And now my bullies were at home with a stomach flu. What an incredible coincidence, considering I hadn't done anything. I sat in class and felt that something bad was about to happen. And I was right. After lunch, Miss Warnos said the principal had asked me to come to his office. When I got there, I found out that the parents of 6 students had called and complained to him about me. The principal said that they were all saying that I had cursed everyone. But that's not true. I didn't do anything. I got scared. The principal said that he didn't believe any of that nonsense either, but the parents of almost all of my classmates were demanding that I be kicked out of school. What? It couldn't be. I was shocked. Miss Warnos tried to comfort me. "Don't worry, Harper. I'm sure things will get better at another school for you. There won't be such evil kids there." I left the principal's office and started crying. Why had they done it to me? It hadn't been my fault. Someone was just taking revenge on me. And then I thought of Charlie, that big-eared jerk. It had definitely been him. I ran around school looking for Charlie, and when I found him, I grabbed him and I started shaking him. "They're kicking me out of school because of you. Admit it. It was you." The guy looked at me dumbfounded and pretended not to understand. "You've done something to my classmates to get back at me because I didn't want to be friends with you." When he heard this, Charlie became sad and told me, "Yes, you're right, it was me." I grabbed his arm and dragged him to the principal. I wanted him to come clean, and Charlie didn't deny anything. He told the principal that my classmates were sick at home because of him. It hadn't been my fault. The principal looked very surprised and said, "This is a serious crime. I'm calling the police." We sat in the principal's office and waited for Charlie to be taken away. He lowered his head and said nothing. I even felt sorry for him, but it was his own fault. A police officer arrived half an hour later. He had been told what the matter was and said he wanted to see the surveillance footage. The principal turned on the video and we all watched it together. But what we saw made everyone open their mouths in shock. A camera in the canteen had caught someone pouring medicine into the students' food. And it hadn't been Charlie. It had been Miss Warnos. Wow, so that's who was to blame. The police officer immediately arrested the teacher. When they took her away, she shouted, "You don't understand anything. Her eyes are different colors. She brings misfortune." As it turned out, Miss Warnos was very superstitious and believed that people with heterochromia were cursed. It came as a real shock to me. I couldn't believe that in the 21st century, people still believe such nonsense, especially school teachers. Miss Warnos had decided to get rid of me that way. Fortunately, everything ended well. They didn't kick me out of school, and I made up with my classmates. Everything went back to normal. Only one thing keeps bothering me. I feel bad about Charlie. After all, I made him confess to something he didn't do, and he did it for me. What should I do about it? Write in the comments what you would do in my place.